Have you ever wondered why some people seem to grow lonelier as they age, while others stay surrounded by love and connection? It's not just about wrinkles or slowing down. As we get older, we all pick up habits, small, sneaky ones that can quietly push people away, damage relationships, and make life harder than it needs to be. The scariest part? Most of us don't even realize we're doing them until it's too late. But here's the good news. You can change them, and this video will show you how. We're diving into the ugly habits that no one talks about, the ones that creep into your life and steal your joy, your health, and your closeness with others. You'll meet Julie, a 71-year-old retired librarian whose story reveals how these habits took hold and how she turned it all around. Why should you watch until the end? Because we're uncovering 9 surprising traps that could be affecting you or someone you love right now, plus simple, practical fixes to break free. Number 7 will shock you. It's the one most people miss until it's cost them dearly, and by the end, you'll get a challenge that could transform your life starting today. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now let's begin. Number 1, becoming too negative or critical. Sarah never imagined she'd become the type of person who harbored negativity. She always thought of herself as someone who simply spoke her mind and was being honest with those around her. But as the years slipped by, she noticed something shifting within her. It was subtle at first, just a small sigh here, a fleeting complaint there, but eventually it became a pattern she couldn't ignore. Mornings started with the familiar aches and pains of aging, and she'd mutter to herself about getting older. It was a harmless grumble, wasn't it? Yet, it soon bled into other parts of her day. She'd watch the news, her frustration growing with every passing report, feeling an overwhelming sense of helplessness and anger about the world's state. And when she spoke to her younger relatives, her words turned sharp. "Back in my day, we had more respect," she'd say with a roll of the eyes, as if the youth were somehow failing her generation. At first, she didn't notice the toll it was taking on her relationships. It seemed harmless enough, just honest opinions, right? But slowly conversations became shorter. Friends began avoiding deep talks instinctively, steering clear of topics they knew would lead to yet another rant. Even her grandkids, once eager to visit her, began to make excuses not to spend time with her. What Sarah couldn't see at the time was the slow and insidious drain of her negativity. No matter how justified, no one wants to leave a conversation feeling worse than when they arrived. And the truth is that negativity, like a weight, pulls people down, making them recoil rather than connect. The reality is, it's easy to slip into a cycle of criticism. Life can feel overwhelming as the world changes around us, especially when things don't always seem to make sense or feel comfortable. Our bodies don't function the way they used to. Things that were once second nature, like shopping, driving, or even using a smartphone, can suddenly become sources of frustration. Venting about it can feel like a release. But when negativity becomes your default mode, it becomes a shield that isolates you, rather than a tool to process your emotions. So how do you shift this energy? Try starting your conversations with something positive. Instead of leading with complaints, consider beginning with gratitude. "I woke up feeling good today," or "the sunset was so beautiful last night," could become part of your daily reflections. Positive energy has a way of spreading. It's magnetic. People are drawn to those who uplift them rather than weigh them down. And when you do need to vent, set limits. Give yourself a couple of minutes to express your frustrations, and then move on to something more constructive. Curiosity is far more powerful than criticism. Ask questions, especially about things you don't understand. Instead of dismissing the things your grandkids are into, whether it's an app or a game, try saying, "Tell me more about that." It creates connection rather than pushing them away. When Sarah started making these small changes, leading with positivity, showing genuine interest in her grandkids' lives, and expressing gratitude more often, she noticed a remarkable shift. Conversations lasted longer. People began to open up to her again, and slowly, the warmth of connection that had been missing came rushing back. What she learned, painfully at first, was that the energy you put into the world is the energy you receive. If you want connection, you have to give it. And it starts with how you speak, how you show up in the world, and the way you choose to see it. Number 2, ignoring personal hygiene and appearance. There was a time when Sarah loved to dress up. She took pride in her appearance, always choosing the perfect outfit, applying her makeup just so, and ensuring her hair was styled perfectly before leaving the house. She had a collection of beautiful clothes, blouses in every color, and a signature scent that she wore with confidence. But as the years went by, something began to change. It started with small things, skipping hair appointments, or opting for comfortable, baggy clothes. Instead of the stylish outfits she used to wear, she began to ask herself, why bother? She wasn't trying to impress anyone anymore. Over time, she found herself staying in her house, clothes all day and rarely glancing in the mirror. She convinced herself that it didn't matter, but deep down, something was shifting inside her. She started to feel different, and it wasn't just about how others saw her, it was about how she saw herself. Sarah began to notice the way people treated her. Strangers who used to compliment her on her bright outfits now barely made eye contact. Friends who once invited her out for lunch or to a movie started asking her to join less frequently. When Sarah looked at old photos of herself, she hardly recognized the vibrant woman she once was. Where had she gone? What happened to the woman who radiated joy and confidence? The truth she hadn't fully grasped was that how we present ourselves to the world affects not only how others perceive us, but also how we perceive ourselves. Personal appearance isn't about vanity. It's about self-respect, about honoring the person you are, regardless of age. It's about showing up for yourself, about feeling good in your skin, and saying, I matter. How do you reverse this? Start with small, manageable steps. Get dressed even if you're not going anywhere special. It doesn't have to be a designer outfit. Just clean, well-fitted clothes that make you feel comfortable and good about yourself. Taking a shower, brushing your hair, trimming your nails. These small acts of care send a powerful message to yourself. I am worth this effort. Wearing something you love, something that brings you joy, can elevate your spirit. Those small details, like a spritz of perfume or a favorite piece of jewelry, can make all the difference. They remind you of who you are, of the woman you've always been, and the one you're still becoming. When Sarah started paying attention to these simple habits again, brushing her hair, wearing her favorite blouse, and even putting on a little lipstick, she noticed something magical happening. She started feeling lighter, more confident, and yes, even beautiful again. People began to smile at her when she walked into a room. She felt seen, and more importantly, she felt like herself again. It was as though the vibrant woman she thought she had lost was quietly returning, not just in the eyes of others, but in her own eyes as well. Number 3, becoming stubborn and resistant to change. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Sarah had always prided herself on being someone who knew exactly what she liked and how she liked it. She was set in her ways, and that had always been her comfort zone. Why change what worked for decades? But when her children and grandchildren started communicating through text messages, instead of phone calls, Sarah resisted. I don't need to learn all that, she would say, dismissing their offers to teach her. If they want to talk to me, they can pick up the phone. But over time, those phone calls became fewer and fewer. Family updates, pictures, and birthday reminders began arriving only in group chats. She refused to join. She didn't realize it at first, but she was shutting herself off from the people she loved most. It wasn't just about technology. It was about staying connected, about being a part of their lives, about love. But Sarah's stubbornness had begun to isolate her. The truth is, change is inevitable. Life moves forward, and it's easy to feel resistant when it feels like the world is leaving you behind. The trick, however, is to stay open. It's easy to say, I don't need that, but there's a quiet strength in saying, I'll try. Saying yes to change, no matter how small, keeps you engaged, keeps you sharp. You don't have to become an expert overnight. Start with small things. Let your grandchildren teach you how to send a text or watch a show they love. Instead of rejecting change, embrace it. You don't know what you're missing until you try. When Sarah finally let her granddaughter teach her how to text, she was surprised by how simple it was. What surprised her even more, though, was the flood of connection she had been missing: daily photos of her great-grandkids, inside jokes, quick check-ins that made her feel like she belonged. By letting go of her resistance, she was able to embrace something far more valuable than new technology connection. It wasn't just about learning to text, it was about staying in touch with the people who mattered most. And in doing so, she not only gained access to new ways of communicating, but she also found a deeper sense of love and connection in her relationships. Number 4, hoarding and refusing to let go of clutter. Sarah had always been sentimental. To her, every item in her home held a story, a memory, a piece of the past she couldn't bear to part with. There were old birthday cards that hadn't seen the light of day in decades, stacks of newspapers she promised herself she'd read someday, and clothes she hadn't worn in years. But she couldn't let go of them. She kept them, just in case. Over the years, her once cozy home, once a peaceful sanctuary, had transformed into an overwhelming maze of things, cluttering every corner, every shelf, and every room. She couldn't deny it anymore. What was once a haven had become a battlefield, filled with items that she barely touched but couldn't bring herself to release. At first, Sarah didn't think there was a problem. She convinced herself that everything had value. She would often say, "I might need it someday." It felt safe, comforting, even reassuring to keep it all. But in truth, the overwhelming clutter had begun to suffocate the life out of her home, her peace, and her spirit. As time passed, she found herself growing more and more exhausted just by the act of trying to clean and navigate through the piles. It became harder and harder to keep her home in order, to find what she needed, and even to invite people over without feeling ashamed of the mess. Her once inviting space was now a reminder of how she had become trapped in the past, unwilling to release what no longer served her. When her daughter gently suggested, "Maybe you should think about letting go of a few things," Sarah resisted with every fiber of her being. "What if I need them later?" she argued. But in reality, the clutter didn't just fill up her home, it began filling her mind too. The stress of holding on to so much weighed on her, blocking the joy of the present and clouding her sense of peace. It wasn't just about things, it was about the emotional baggage she had accumulated along with them. Letting go is never easy, especially when it feels like a piece of your heart is tied to each object. But here's the truth: holding on to too much, whether it's material possessions or emotional baggage, can create a sense of being stuck in the past, unable to move forward, unable to embrace the present. It's a silent thief that robs you of clarity and peace of mind. Sarah finally realized that to feel truly free again, she had to let go. Breaking free from clutter doesn't happen all at once. It requires patience, kindness toward yourself, and the courage to face the truth that you don't need everything you've been holding on to. How does one even begin to break free from this overwhelming mess? Start small. Tackle one drawer, one shelf, one box at a time. The thought of decluttering everything at once can feel like an insurmountable task. But breaking it down into manageable chunks makes it more bearable. Ask yourself, do I use this? Does it bring me joy? If the answer is no, then it's time to say goodbye. Donate the items that can be of use to someone else. Recycle the things that are no longer useful, or pass on meaningful items to family members who will cherish them. Turn decluttering into a habit, a simple everyday practice. Set a small goal, get rid of one item each day. This small but consistent action can lead to profound transformation over time. And let's not forget the practical aspect of it all. Clutter doesn't just create mental stress, it can also be dangerous. It increases the risk of falls, accidents, and injuries. A home isn't just a place to live, it should be a place where you feel safe, at ease, and at peace. When Sarah finally decided to take the plunge and declutter, something magical happened. The weight lifted from her shoulders, and the transformation wasn't just physical. She donated clothes she hadn't worn in years, recycled old magazines that had been gathering dust, and organized her living space in a way that made it easier to find the things that truly mattered. And you know what? For the first time in years, Sarah felt a sense of peace in her home. It wasn't just cleaner, it was lighter, brighter, and more welcoming. She felt a new sense of freedom, a freedom that came from releasing the past and embracing the present. And most importantly, she found herself excited to invite friends over again, something she hadn't felt in so long. Number 5, losing patience with others too quickly. Sarah had never thought of herself as an impatient person. She was always someone who tried to be kind, understanding, and forgiving. But as time went on, she noticed small cracks appearing in her patience, tiny moments where irritation flared up and she lost control of her composure. One afternoon, she was at the grocery store, standing in line with a cart full of items. The young cashier was taking his time, fumbling with the bags, and Sarah felt frustration building within her. Why is he so slow? Can't he move a little faster? She thought, feeling her temper rise. The words escaped her lips before she could stop them. Come on, can you hurry up? The moment the words left her mouth, she saw the cashier's face fall. He looked down, his hands trembling slightly as he tried to finish his task. That's when it hit her: this young man was new, nervous, and doing his best. And here she was, snapping at him as if he were the cause of her stress. She immediately felt a pang of guilt. Was she becoming the very person she used to dislike? The person who was quick to judge, quick to snap, and slow to show grace? The realization hit hard. As we grow older, it's easy to lose patience with others. Life moves at a different pace, and it's frustrating when the world around us doesn't move as quickly as we would like. But the truth is, impatience doesn't just make life harder for others, it makes it harder for us too. It raises our stress levels, clouds our judgment, and poisons our interactions with the people we encounter. So how do we learn to stay patient, to stay kind, especially when life feels like it's moving too slowly? The first step is simple pause before reacting. When you feel irritation creeping in, take a deep breath. Is this worth getting upset over? Remind yourself that the slow driver might be someone's grandfather, and the cashier fumbling with the bags could be a student just trying to do their best. A little patience goes a long way. The next time you feel frustration bubbling up, try shifting your perspective. Instead of snapping, offer a smile, a kind word, or a simple, take your time. Sarah did this the next time she saw the same young cashier. She smiled, complimented him on his efforts, and told him he was doing a great job. His face lit up, and in that moment, Sarah realized just how powerful kindness can be. It doesn't take much to make someone's day, to ease their burden. Patience, after all, isn't just a gift to others, it's a gift to ourselves too. Choosing patience over frustration leads to less stress, better interactions, and a more peaceful heart. Number 6, over-talking and not listening. Sarah had always loved to talk. She had a wealth of stories to share, advice to give, and memories to relive. Over the years, she had become known as the storyteller in the family. But there was one problem: she didn't realize how often she dominated the conversations. One day, her daughter, who had been calling less and less, finally opened up to her. "Mom, I love talking to you, but sometimes I don't feel heard," her daughter confessed. "It feels like our calls are all about you, and I never get to share what's on my mind." Sarah was stunned. How had she not seen it? She realized that every time they spoke, she would jump in with her own experiences, stories, and advice without even pausing to listen. The truth was, Sarah had become so focused on sharing her wisdom that she forgot to give her daughter the space to speak, to be heard. She had been talking, but not listening. As we age, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we have all the answers. We want to share our life's lessons, to impart the wisdom we've accumulated over the years. But if we don't take the time to listen, to truly hear our loved ones, we risk pushing them away. Sarah had to face the reality that, in her desire to share, she had unintentionally isolated herself from the people she loved most. The key to better conversations is balance. Don't just talk, listen. If you've been speaking for a while, pause and ask, "What about you? How have things been for you?" Make a conscious effort to show genuine interest in what the other person is saying. Resist the urge to interrupt, even if you have a great story to tell. Give the other person the space to speak. Ask open-ended questions that invite real conversation. Instead of simply asking, "How are you?" try asking, "What's something exciting that happened this week?" The next time Sarah talked to her daughter, she made a conscious effort to listen. She asked more questions, gave her daughter the floor, and only offered advice when it was truly needed. The results were nothing short of amazing. Their conversations became longer, warmer, and more meaningful. Sarah learned that the best conversations aren't about talking more, they're about listening better. And in that simple act of listening, she rediscovered the beauty of connection. Number 7, pushing people away instead of asking for help. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Sarah had always prided herself on being fiercely independent. It was her identity, her way of life. She had spent decades nurturing and caring for others, raising her children with all the love she could muster, managing a bustling household with efficiency, and even offering her hand to neighbors in need. It felt good to be needed, to be the one people turned to. But as the years passed, something started to change. The simple tasks that used to come so easily to her began to feel like insurmountable obstacles. One afternoon, she struggled to lift a heavy grocery bag from her car, her arms trembling with the weight. A young man walking by noticed her struggle and with a kind smile offered his help. "Need a hand with that?" he asked. Sarah, in her pride, forced a smile and shook her head. "No, thank you, I've got it." But she didn't. She didn't. As she dragged the heavy bag inside, the ache in her back intensified, and a wave of frustration and isolation washed over her. Each step felt heavier than the last, not just because of the physical strain, but because of the emotional toll of rejecting someone's kindness. She had pushed away someone who was simply trying to help, someone who saw her struggle and wanted to ease it. And in that moment, Sarah felt more alone than ever before. Later that night, as she sat in the quiet of her home, the painful realization hit her like a cold gust of wind. Her refusal to ask for help, to accept help, wasn't making her stronger. No, it was slowly pulling her away from the very connections that had once brought her comfort. She was choosing isolation over connection, independence over interdependence. Why is asking for help a sign of strength, not weakness? Asking for help doesn't make you a burden. It allows others the opportunity to care for you, to show their love and support. People genuinely want to help. But if you continue to shut them out, eventually they will stop offering. And when that happens, you'll find yourself not just physically burdened, but emotionally starved. When you accept help, it fosters connection. It builds bridges between hearts, creating moments of shared humanity that go beyond the task at hand. Whether it's holding a door open, lifting a heavy load, or offering an empathetic ear, letting others help makes life easier, not just physically, but emotionally. It's a reminder that we are not meant to struggle alone. And when you let others feel useful, you're giving them a gift. Can you imagine a life where no one ever needed your help? You'd feel unimportant, unneeded. So why deny others the joy of assisting you? Sarah realized she had to change. The next time someone offered help, she promised herself she would stop being so prideful. She'd say yes. The next time she was at the store and saw that young man again, Sarah smiled warmly and said, "Actually, I could use a little help today." His face brightened, and as he grabbed the bag from her hands, Sarah felt a weight lift, not from her back, but from her heart. In that simple exchange, something deep inside her shifted. She felt seen, valued, and most importantly, connected. Have you ever found yourself struggling to ask for help, or felt the joy of offering it to someone else? It's a humbling experience that reminds us we are all in this together. It's okay to let others in. Number 8, being too frugal to enjoy life. Sarah had always been the picture of financial prudence. A natural at budgeting, she clipped coupons with enthusiasm, skipped vacations with ease, and hesitated long before making any purchase that wasn't necessary. While she had a comfortable amount saved up, there was always that gnawing worry at the back of her mind. What if I need this money later? What if something unexpected happens? It was a constant cycle of saving, saving, saving. But for what? What was the point of accumulating wealth if she wasn't using it to live the life she dreamed of? One day, Sarah's best friend Emily invited her on a weekend trip to the countryside. "It'll be so much fun, Sarah," Emily said, her voice filled with excitement. "We'll explore, eat good food, and just relax." Sarah's immediate instinct was to say no. Traveling meant spending money. Restaurants meant spending money. Everything about it made her anxious. What if I regret spending that money? But deep down, a small voice whispered, "When was the last time I treated myself?" For years, Sarah had lived in the mindset of saving for one day. But as she stood there staring at Emily's invitation, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, what if that one day never comes? What am I saving for if I'm not living now? Why does enjoying your money matter? Being financially responsible is indeed important, but life isn't just about stacking up savings. It's about living, truly living. Experiences like travel, outings, or hobbies bring more lasting joy than any material possession ever could. Studies show that spending on experiences creates memories that linger long after the purchase is forgotten, while things, objects, gadgets, clothes lose their value with time. Sarah had worked hard her whole life to get to this stage, to build financial security. But security without fulfillment is like an empty vessel. The key to a well-rounded life is balance. Enjoying the fruits of your labor doesn't diminish your achievements, it honors them. So how can Sarah change this habit? She decided to give herself permission to spend, to enjoy life's little pleasures. Whether it was a dinner out, a spontaneous hobby, or a weekend getaway, she vowed to prioritize experiences that nourished her soul. She even set aside a fun fund, an account specifically for her enjoyment. The next time Emily asked her to join the weekend trip, Sarah hesitated no longer. She said yes, and oh, what a difference it made. She laughed more in those 2 days than she had in months. She felt the sun on her face, tasted the joy of good food with good company, and most importantly, remembered how to live fully. When she watched the sunset with Emily, she realized this was what she had been saving for all along, the moments, the memories, the connection. Money was meant to support her happiness, not just sit untouched in a bank. What experience have you been putting off because of money? Life isn't waiting for you to be ready. The time is now. Number 9, talking down to younger generations. Sarah adored her grandson, Noah. His visits were the highlight of her week. She loved hearing about his school life, his hobbies, and especially his passion for video games. But lately, those visits had felt different, more distant. Their conversations had become strained, awkward even. She noticed Noah was less eager to talk, more absorbed in his phone than in their time together. One afternoon, Noah brought up a new app he was excited about. Without thinking, Sarah sighed and shook her head. Back in my day, we didn't need all this technology. Kids went outside to play, not stare at screens all day. Noah went quiet. A few minutes later, he mumbled, "I should probably get going." The door clicked shut behind him, and Sarah was left alone, the sharp sting of regret hitting her chest. She hadn't meant to push him away, but she had. Her words, though meant to share wisdom, had only served to make him feel dismissed, invalidated. In her attempt to connect, she had unintentionally built a wall between them. Why does talking down to younger generations push them away? It's easy to get stuck in the nostalgia of the good old days, but constantly reminding younger people that things were better in the past can make them feel like their experiences and challenges don't matter. Instead of fostering understanding, it creates division. Every generation faces its own unique set of challenges, its own battles, and instead of criticizing them for it, we should be lifting them up, offering support and encouragement. So how can Sarah change this habit? The next time Noah mentioned something new, Sarah took a deep breath and said, "That sounds interesting. Tell me more." She didn't dismiss it. Instead, she chose curiosity. She made an effort to understand his world, to ask questions that made him feel heard. And when Noah explained his game strategy, something beautiful happened. They connected not through criticism, but through mutual respect. Their conversation flowed freely, and for the first time in a long while, they shared a moment of genuine connection. What about you? Have you ever struggled to relate to younger generations? What helped bridge the gap? Sometimes, it's not about changing them, it's about understanding them, seeing the world through their eyes and meeting them where they are. Number 10, holding on to grudges and regrets. Holding on to grudges and regrets is like carrying around a heavy weight that slowly wears you down, bit by bit. It's more than just a mental burden. It seeps into every corner of your life, stealing your present joy and clouding your perspective. Every time you allow yourself to dwell on those old wounds, you're denying yourself the beauty of the present moment. Have you ever caught yourself remembering a past injustice or betrayal, and suddenly you're not only reliving the pain, but it's like the world around you dims a little? That's the grip of resentment. The more you clutch onto those negative memories, the more distant you become from the love and joy that surrounds you today. It's painful to admit, but bitterness can quietly erode relationships. It creeps in almost unnoticed, making it harder to connect with those you care about. And without realizing it, that resentment grows into a wall that divides you from your loved ones. In the worst cases, it turns into anger, which builds over time until your heart feels hardened, and you're left wondering why you feel so alone, even in a crowd. And let's not forget about the toll it takes on your health. Grudges and regrets are more than just emotional baggage. They're stress that lingers in your body. The constant tension and negativity can raise your blood pressure, disturb your sleep, and even damage your immune system. You can try to ignore it, but deep down, you know it's affecting you. There's no running away from the consequences of holding on to past pain. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. So how do you let go and find the emotional freedom you so deeply deserve? It starts with accepting the harsh truth that the past can't be undone. What's done is done, and no matter how many times you replay the moments in your mind, they won't change. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" try flipping that question around. Asking, "What can I learn from this?" In doing so, you free yourself from the grip of the past and empower yourself to shape a future that's healthier and happier. Forgiveness is key, not for the person who hurt you, but for yourself. When you forgive, you're not excusing bad behavior, but rather you're releasing its power over you. You're setting yourself free. It's a hard truth, but letting go of those grudges isn't a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage and strength. It's about regaining control of your life, your peace, and your heart. It's not easy to shift your focus, but when you catch yourself slipping into old patterns of resentment, pause and redirect your thoughts to something positive in the present. You could write a letter expressing everything you've been holding inside, then tear it up. burn it, or let it drift away, knowing that it's time to release it all. You owe yourself that much. Sarah's story is a testament to this journey. For years, she carried the burden of past hurts. Then one evening, with a piece of paper in her hands, she decided it was time to let it all go. She poured her heart out on that page, every regret, every wound, and with a deep breath, she allowed herself to finally release them. In that moment, something inside her shifted. For the first time in a long while, she felt lighter, freer. The weight that had been dragging her down for years now lifted, allowing her to move forward. Number 11, ignoring health problems. Ignoring health problems can seem like a convenient escape at first. Who wants to face the possibility of something being wrong? But this denial, this avoidance, can be downright dangerous. Small symptoms that we brush off can be the body's way of warning us about something much bigger. That dizziness you've been feeling, it could be dehydration, or worse, an early sign of a stroke. That tiredness that you keep attributing to old age, it could be undiagnosed heart disease. We often convince ourselves that it's nothing or that it'll pass. But the truth is, delaying checkups only leads to worse outcomes down the line. Small issues left untreated become major health crises. Why do we wait? Why do we convince ourselves that it's okay to ignore something that doesn't feel quite right? Maybe it's because we're so busy, so focused on everything else, that we forget to listen to our bodies. Or maybe we're afraid of what we might hear. But the truth is, ignoring those warning signs doesn't make them disappear. It only makes things worse. Prevention is always easier than crisis management. By making small adjustments to our lifestyle, like improving our diet or getting regular exercise, we can avoid life-altering health scares. Prevention is the gift of self-love and care, and it's one that we too often overlook. Sarah learned this lesson the hard way after her fall, the one that left her struggling in pain at the hospital. She realized how easily she had overlooked her health. She thought she could just power through, believing that the dizziness was just a part of getting older. But that fall, that painful wake-up call, made her see things differently. She promised herself that she would never again ignore the small signs. She would listen to her body, take better care of herself, and stop putting her health on the back burner. She started drinking more water, taking balance classes, and scheduling regular doctor visits. Taking control of her health didn't mean giving up her independence. It meant embracing it by taking responsibility for her well-being before things got worse. And that's the lesson we can all learn from Sarah. So ask yourself, have you been ignoring something that your body has been trying to tell you? Don't wait until it's too late. Your health is too important to neglect. Take action now. You deserve to live a full, vibrant life. And that starts with listening to the whispers your body is sending you. As Sarah sat in her quiet living room, looking through old photo albums, she remembered a time when life was just full of laughter, joy, and excitement. She saw pictures of herself playing with her grandkids, dancing at parties and soaking up the sun. She realized that somewhere along the line, she'd stopped seeking out that kind of joy. Life had simply become routine, maybe even a little dull. But when her friend Emily invited her over for a movie night, Sarah was hesitant, yet she decided to say yes. That night, as the laughter bubbled up, Sarah felt a piece of herself truly awaken. The joy that had been buried for so long was still there, just waiting to be rediscovered. For the first time in years, she remembered what it felt like to laugh until her stomach ached and tears filled her eyes. Laughter is real medicine for the soul. It's not just about fun, it's a vital part of our well-being. It lowers stress, gives your immunity a boost, and helps keep the mind sharp. The simple act of laughing brings us closer to others and strengthens our bonds. As we age, laughter reminds us that we're still young at heart. It's a gentle nudge to live with joy and enjoy the simple pleasures. Sarah left that night with a lighter heart, realizing that joy isn't something you just stumble upon, it's something you choose. So, think about what you've learned today. What resonated with you the most? Maybe it's the power of forgiveness, how laughter truly is the best medicine, or perhaps realizing why we shouldn't ignore those health warning signs. Whatever it is, take a moment to think of one thing you'll start doing differently. I'd love to hear from you. What's one lesson you're committed to practicing moving forward? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe to our channel for more helpful content. Your support truly means the world to us.